After last year's split-stage experiment, the 5th edition of La Course is back to a single-day event, but it stays in the mountains where last year's started. The route is 112.5 kilometres, starting with a 4th and a 2nd category climb before the big ones. The 1,300-metre Col de Rome leads onto the 1,600-metre Col de la Colombière, and it's a 14.5 kilometre run downhill to the finish in Le Grand Bornand. Welcome back. Having led over the 3rd climb of the day, the Montée du Plateau de Glières, Julien Alaphilippe also took maximum points at the top of the Col de Rome, ahead of Rein Taramay and a small group still containing Greg van Avermaet. So he leads the King of the Mountains competition, and he looks as though he's heading for a stage victory. As we join commentary on the final climb, Alaphilippe has nearly 2 minutes on the yellow jersey group, and the yellow jersey has 4 minutes on the main field, being led by Sky.
Julien Alaphilippe now is tasting victory, smelling it, I think. It's hard to see an argument that would result in Julien Alaphilippe throwing this away. He has looked absolutely bulletproof, almost from the minute the flag dropped. Alaphilippe signalling his intentions of getting in a break, and then basically one by one destroying the breakaway. It's played into his favour somewhat that Team Sky have just locked everything down in the GC race at the moment, and they've still got Michał Kwiatkowski, Wout Poels, and then comes Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas and Egan Bernal. So they've just lost the services of Jonathan Castroviejo midway up this climb, but they can afford to lose him. They've got so many riders still to work with. And that is the climb. That's the extent of the climb. That's the shoulder of land they're going to have to get over the beautiful Col de la Colombière before they start the 14.5 kilometre, well, the 10 kilometre descent, and then the 3 or 4 kilometre flatter approach to the finish line here in the Grand Bornand. Rigoberto Urán not ideally placed, along with Ilnur Zakarin, and Bob Jungels also towards the back. Looks like, yeah, indeed, Jon Izagirre has caught and passed Rein Taramay. Taramay's in that dark kit, and he's been passed, and he's now, Jon Izagirre, the 2nd rider on the road for Bahrain Merida.
Greg van Avermaet just plugging away for the riders in front of him for the days. Will be feeling a bit resigned that Alaphilippe is riding away with the stage and giving up slightly, whereas for Greg van Avermaet, he's the only rider still out there behind Alaphilippe, who this day is far from over. He's still got a lot to gain.
And the favourites continue their ride up the mountain, watchful, hurting increasingly.
Vincenzo Nibali, who's up there, just and 2 riders behind him is Romain Bardet. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Romain Bardet is expecting Nibali to do something, in which case he will not hesitate and go with him. Of course, if you make that move, if you're going to attack the descent, you have to do it. You have to attack over the summit in an explosive move, probably in 200 or 300, 400 metres from the top. We've seen Bardet in the past with 1 kilometre to go, or 2 kilometres to go, which is you have to have an exceeding amount of strength and power to then withhold, because that can instigate a chase from behind, whereas you're best in a surprise move with 300, 400 metres and just having a few seconds over the top, and then you really attack the descent.
1k to the top for Julien Alaphilippe. And that's the Beckham situation.
Chris Froome looking at ease.
If Chris Froome ever looks at ease, he is certainly doing there. Thomas looking good as well still. Instructions coming from the team leader to Kwiatkowski. And Alaphilippe, meanwhile, now is in the thick throng of French and international fans into a barriered section towards the top of the final climb of the day. Whatever happens, Julien Alaphilippe will be on the podium in the King of the Mountains jersey with a pretty healthy advantage over everybody else as well. So that will start to be the narration of his Tour de France. But that's of lesser importance. What Alaphilippe wants is to score his 1st ever stage win on the Tour de France.
What's amazing about this is that, well, 4 hours ago, he was one of the first attackers on the flat roads from Annecy. He has just taken this race by the scruff of the neck from the very beginning, and to be able to do that and still be at this point in the race, it goes to show just how strong he is.
The yellow jersey, Greg van Avermaet, phenomenal ride for him. Those two riders are really drawing the eye. There's the top of the Col de la Colombière, and it's within touching distance now for Julien Alaphilippe, who's held on to and indeed extended his advantage over all the big players, dispensing with everyone else in that breakaway. In the meantime, though, it's another poor showing from the man who finished in 2nd place in the general classification last year on the Tour de France, Rigoberto Urán. finding it hard to repeat his form of 2017 as things stand, and if that continues, he's going to be almost out of the general classification. Real shake-up. Well, the Wolf Pack are at it again. Already 2 victories on this year's Tour de France with Fernando Gaviria, their marquee Colombian sprinter. But this man, a really, really steep climb up to the finish line of this climb, the beautiful Col de la Colombière, and it will dive off the top vertiginously. The first 10 kilometres just rapidly downhill, a very smooth, flowing descent to attack for Julian Alaphilippe. He takes one drink, throws it away, now he's beat-on. All in, he knows that surely he has the race lead here, snatches a bottle, starts to drink and compose himself for the next 14.5 kilometres of racing. There's the virtual GC. Greg van Avermaet at this point in the race leads it by 3 minutes and 42 seconds from Geraint Thomas in second place. And what a result that would be if you can hang on to anything like that at the end, and chances are he will. Johnny Zagiri crosses the Col de la Colombière in second place on the road, and Greg van Avermaet has caught his compatriot Serge Pauwels, and those 2 Belgians are going to cross the line in fourth and fifth position. Ryan Tademe is just ahead of them on the road,
and Serge Pauwels there, he's going to help Greg van Avermaet, give him the look. He's not giving up now, you know, Belgium is such a strong cycling nation. Probably wouldn't be able to return home if he didn't help his compatriot now take him to the line.
Tademe third over the Col de la Colombière. It's now that you might expect the climbs to, the attacks to come, or in the next 200 metres or so, if they're going to come.
Yeah, if you're going to go now, especially, you're going to have to. It's going to have to be such a massive attack, because Chris Froome knows.
It's Martin. This isn't the Mur de Bretagne, this is an alpine climb. It's the Col de la Colombière, but it's around about the same position on the climb on the Mur de Bretagne that Martin decided to make his attack go. And he is going away at the moment from Wout Poels.
This is a perfect situation for Vincenzo Nibali if he wants to go, because it forces the pace bearers and puts everyone in the red, which is what you want. Dan Martin, we know this is the distance he likes to go from the summit. Just does almost an anaerobic effort, which few riders could do. Wout Poels was immediately distanced. Egan Bernal just showing the talent he has.
Rafa Majka as well, at the wrong side of that. Zakarin and Bauke Mollema struggling in that group. And that is Rudy Mollard and Guillaume Martin from the original breakaway. And Dan Martin has crossed over to Guillaume Martin. And Egan Bernal leads Chris Froome and Geraint Thomas with Adam Yates and Tom Dumoulin, Vincenzo Nibali, Nairo Quintana, Alejandro Valverde. Then the pairing from Lotto Jumbo, that's Kruijswijk and Roglic, still there.
Alejandro Valverde is hanging on by the skin of his teeth.
Getting back on though, isn't he, Valverde? Martin takes them over, Sky, and they look round, does David Gaudu, to see what's coming up, and the answer is it's Dan Martin with the slenderest of advantages onto this long descent off the Col de la Colombière. But Julian Alaphilippe is on a mission, and a mission that surely will end in fulfilment into Le Grand Bornand. Not long to go now for Julian Alaphilippe. Right at 1:01, Julian Alaphilippe. This is it. This is the moment we've all waited for, I think, for Julian Alaphilippe's career, as we've watched it over the last couple of years develop and blossom. Inevitably, sooner or later, he would ride to victory on the Tour de France. He's come frustratingly close on occasions. This time, though, barring accidents, he is riding towards triumph in Le Grand Bornand. This man, with Serge Pauwels for company, his fellow Belgian, is having a wonderful day in the yellow jersey.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, we did expect him to do something like this, but perhaps not to pull it off to this degree. I mean, I expected him to get in the breakaway, because that's the sort of rider he is, and because with BMC they've lost their GC hopes, he does have carte blanche to do this sort of thing, and says so much about Greg van Avermaet and proves the calibre, and you know, it just goes to show that Palmares does mean something. Alaphilippe, in the meantime, is just flying down here. Yeah, he can't believe it. I mean, I don't know why, because he's just dominated that whole race, but perhaps he didn't quite anticipate for it to be this easy for him, because although he's obviously had to go deep, he seems to have just controlled the whole race from start to end. Egan Bernal piling on the pressure. They're not hanging around here, so look, they're probably keeping this. Look, he's still talking to Chris Froome. Where's Geraint Thomas? Just dropped back a place. Gaudu slipped in there in the third place. Chris Froome is actually attacking this. They brought Dan Martin back, so they're just not only controlling, they seem to be attacking the descent.
Trying to stress everyone out. Little gaps opening up, little gaps being closed. Last time we saw Zakharin and Mollema in some difficulties, and the way that they are attacking this descent, it might well be that Zakharin and Mollema, as Guillaume Martin just tries to make contact with the back of that group, might well be that Zakharin and Mollema are looking at big time losses at the end of the day.
And there's something that has been noticeable through this day as well. I mean, we've been watching it all day. We never see Geraint Thomas on the radio or controlling anything. It is Chris Froome who is the out-and-out leader. He seems to be controlling, dictating all the moves. He's racing now, he's piling the pressure on because he wants to distance the rider that have been dropped. These riders here, Bauke Mollema and Zakharin, Maika, because that's going to move him up, and he wants to make sure. I mean, he's always thinking of these things, Chris Froome. He doesn't take anything for granted, and as far as he's concerned, they are GC contenders and competition that have been dropped, and now it's time to distance them.
In the meantime, under 6 kilometres to go, about 2 or 3 of which are very rapidly downhill before the road flattens out into Le Grand Bornand. And seldom has a rider had this long to think about his victory celebration on the Tour de France, because it is nailed on that if Julien Alaphilippe stays upright, he will ride to victory. Tadame's the better of the two descenders, that much is clear, and Tadame catches Jon Izagirre. Izagirre just battles to get on the wheel of the Estonian. That's the difference between a good descender and a bad descender. There was a big gap between those two over the top of the climb.
Yeah, I think that means Tadame must have recuperated a little, because I think when he got dropped by Alaphilippe, he was essentially cross-eyed. I think he'd just gone so deep. I think Alaphilippe had just put him so far in the red and made it even worse by waiting for him and then putting him even deeper in the red. And so I think he actually almost just deliberately let him go to stop the hurting. But Alaphilippe, in the meantime, just continued on, raging through this stage. Almost 1:53 now to Izagirre and Tadame. I mean, continues to put time into them. Now it's putting time back into everybody. Apart from the peloton, which now is accelerating with that Team Sky acceleration. It's like Greg van Avermaet's closing on Izagirre and Tadame now.
Which wouldn't be entirely surprising, would it, Greg van Avermaet, brilliant descender that he is.
It's Froome himself, is it? Yep, Chris Froome himself on the front.
Taking responsibility, leading from the front. These two riders, they have the duty, being the riders with the most to lose in that little group off the back, the Mollema group. And Julien Alaphilippe is about to write his name into history, not for the first, for the first, but almost certainly not the last time on the Tour de France, as he surely rides to victory here on stage 10.
Geraint Thomas dropping to... No, Chris Froome has just dropped down the line markedly there, which is a little bit strange, unless he just went overcooked a corner slightly.
And this is it. This is his moment.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's the Tour de France. I think for any rider, it's the biggest stage. And for Alaphilippe, he missed an opportunity. I think it was 2 years ago when he was in a breakaway with Rafael Maika and Jalenson Pantano. And that was due to a mechanical, and that will have weighed heavily on his mind, and it's taken him 2 years to put himself back in the position, and this time he hasn't messed around. And although he's been the strongest in the bike race today in many ways, I mean, let's take out the GC guys out of that, because obviously they're riding a different race, he also rode intelligently. He did ride very aggressively, but at times he would just sit back, let the others attack, almost bluff, and then go back up and dispose of them. So he rode quite an interesting race, at times aggressive, at times patient, but all the time effective.
Effective is absolutely what he's been. No one had a chance really when Alaphilippe, you even sensed it the moment that the flag dropped and the final breakaway established itself, a 21-man move. They always had one big problem on their hands today, and it was this 26-year-old Frenchman. Really testing terrain though. This isn't the Ardennes, this is a stage of the Alps, and Alaphilippe has proved how well he can climb over some of the longest climbs that they're likely to face as well, and some of the steepest. He is everything that you want in a bike racer, Julien Alaphilippe. And he'll be absolutely loving this, as indeed will his home nation. They're going to taste a stage victory here in France in one of their favourite sons. He's just got this steep section to go, and then he will lift his arms aloft and receive the applause, not just of the people lined up here by the side of the road, but the entire country will be glued to this. The world champions are about to celebrate another wonderful sporting success as Julien Alaphilippe rides to his first stage victory. He has been everything. From the moment that he attacked, he has been aggressive, he has been twitchy, he has been charismatic, He has been effective, he's been ruthless, he's been enjoyable to watch, he has been charming and angry, he has been bristling, and frankly, Julien Alaphilippe has been brilliant. Well might he punch his chest and take the applause of the crowd. He's emotional, and he deserved to be. Julien Alaphilippe wins stage 10 in the Alps into Le Grand Bornand. And there is no one else on the road even remotely close to him.
It's 1 kilometre exactly, just over actually separating these two riders from Alaphilippe. No one was going to beat Alaphilippe today. Greg van Avermaet, he's done a great ride with Serge Pauwels, and Izagirre just leaving Tarame. Tarame, I think, did blow up a little bit too. I think, as I said, never recovered from being caught and trying to hang on with Alaphilippe. In the meantime, Greg van Avermaet, look at this. What an amazing ride from the yellow jersey today.
Oh, Izagirre is a little frustrated with second. Tarame probably satisfied with third. This man, though, well, he is about to cross the line, stop his watch, and we start ours to see just what kind of advantage he is going to take. He's got 43 seconds to defend. He's going to be comfortably in the yellow jersey at the end of the day, and he's extended his lead almost certainly significantly at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's finished fourth in the first mountain stage of the Tour de France, which, you know, that's a brilliant result.
Well, first time we've seen Lilian Calmejane really in a big, high-caliber, credible breakaway today, and maybe he just picked the wrong day or had the wrong legs on. It's a good result for Calmejane, but perhaps he's a little bit better than that. But it's a testament to the quality of the opposition he faced in that 21-man move. Well, it's Pierre Latour pushing on.
They're putting time into those 3 GC riders, which is something that's a bit of a bonus, because I don't think they were expecting that to happen, and Bardet is obviously going to make some time back for the time he lost on Mur de Bretagne.
Anne Martin, Primoz Roglic, Geraint Thomas, Adam Yates, Pierre Latour. Where's Chris Froome? There he is, just on the wheel. So Chris Froome is in that group. So too is Tom Dumoulin. So too is Nairo Quintana, Alejandro Valverde, Mikel Landa, and Vincenzo Nibali.
As for the stage winner, with such a lead and so long to think about what winning his first Tour de France stage would mean to him, Julien Alaphilippe held himself together for the hero shot coming across the line, and then exercised his right to go to pieces. There's the result, 1:34, his winning margin over Jonas Izagirre. Greg van Avermaet was 10 seconds further back, 1:39 seconds ahead of the favourites group led in by Dan Martin. Most but not all the contenders were in there. Alaphilippe's teammate Bob Jungels lost 51 seconds of them. He came in a group with Ilnur Zakarin and Rafael Majka. Rigoberto Urán was 5:59 behind the winner, over 2.5 minutes down on his rivals. The sprinters' mutual support group timed their arrival perfectly, 34:02, less than half a minute inside the day's elimination time. Well, he'd been tipped to win and take the yellow jersey back on stage 6. His time losses since then and Greg van Avermaet's presence in the break meant the second half of that goal was out of reach today. But Julien Alaphilippe did take the climber's jersey as a byproduct of his brilliant day out.
Julien, we could see how much that stage meant to you. You were celebrating a long way out. You look like a happy man.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy, you know. It's an incredible feeling. It was really a big goal for me to win a stage on the Tour de France. And with this situation and how I finished the stage, it was not really what I expected, but at the end it's really, really good feeling. And my sport director
in your earpiece?
On my earpiece said to me, enjoy Julien, enjoy the last K. Voilà. I was thinking about my family, of the work I did before the tour. It's a nice recompense.
So not so much a shake-up of the standings on the first mountain day as a shake-down, with everyone slipping back behind Greg van Avermaet. Geraint Thomas is now at 2:22, Alejandro Valverde up to third at 3:10. Jakob Fuglsang is fourth as Bob Jungels drops a place. The trio of Froome, Yates and Landa move up as a block. Nibali and Roglic are now in the top 10. Rafael Majka has dropped out of it altogether, but after crashing and losing time on stage 9, the rest day has obviously not helped Rigoberto Urán. He's now 22nd at 7:08.
Geraint, after that performance, you're disappointed not to be in yellow tonight?
It would have been nice. Seeing we were control the race anyway, but yeah, that's just the way it goes. And you know, hats off to Van Avermaet. We kind of expected him to do that. He did it last time he had the jersey as well, and yeah, a real strong ride for him. So yeah, he deserves to have that jersey in the day.
Chris, you didn't blow the race apart as you have done in the first mountain stage in previous tours, but was that pretty much the perfect start to the Alpine stages for you?
I think so. I mean, this is the first day of a 3-day block now, and I mean, it wasn't a summit finish, so I don't think all the big rivals necessarily showed all their hands today. Excuse me. For us, I think it was more about staying up front, staying out of trouble, and it's really nice to see that we had the numbers there in the final as well, especially when it started getting really sort of selective towards the end.
Chris, yesterday I asked you about the gravel road. You said nothing would happen, and then you get onto it and you puncture straight away.
Yeah, that serves me right, doesn't it? Bit of a comedy of errors, because I stopped with Jonathan to swap wheels. I was going to take his back wheel, put his back wheel into my bike, and just about to set off again, and saw that his wheel was flat as well. So it was just like wacky races at that moment, and just got a wheel from the neutral service to carry on.
Well, he's been talking about losing the jersey pretty much since he took it on stage 3, but Greg van Avermaet showed the nous and had the legs today to give himself at least one more stage in yellow.
Greg, honestly, was this planned?
A little bit, but yeah, like 2 years ago I went also in the break with my yellow jersey. It was super nice, but I had to find the right moment, I think, and when they went the big group on the climb, I decided just to go see how Sky reacted, and it didn't react, so yeah, it was a good day for me. Then we took directly 6-7 minutes, and then I knew it would be yeah, a good day for me again.
Because honestly, this morning, did you think you would keep that jersey on your shoulders?
No, I was not thinking about it, but yeah, you have to read the race situation a little bit, I think, and that's what I did. I think I was waiting to the right moment, and then you come in a big group with guys who are going to go for the stage, and I could keep my yellow jersey for an extra other day.
Yeah, and you obviously increase your advantage. What can we expect from tomorrow?
Oh, not much, I think. I think this was the maximum. I went really deep today, and tomorrow is really a climber stage, really short, and yeah, it will be super hard to keep it, and I have really no intention. This was a day maybe I could keep it, but tomorrow will be over.